you're not acting very professional. Not being very professional at all. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mavis and Me, and we are today sitting in Zion National Park, which is just beautiful. We have beautiful weather, not too sunny, which is nice, so it's not super hot, not a whole lot of glare, and it's a perfect temperature to be walking and hiking. Today I want to talk about a topic that I don't know, I see a lot of controversy about, and that is registering service dogs. I kind of have my own opinions about it, and I kind of wrote out a pro and con list to go over just so that I wouldn't forget anything, so I apologize if I'm reading during some of this. In a perfect world, I think that registering service dogs is a great idea. We don't live in a perfect world, so that complicates things a lot. On my list of pros for registering service dogs is that first and foremost, it could just simplify access to places. You know, if you could just whip out a badge, whip out a card or a tag, certification, and show it to people as you walk through the door to a business, there'd be no more stopping you, right? People wouldn't be like, wait, you can't bring dogs in here, and you have to explain, no, it's a service dog. Well, it doesn't look like a service dog because it's not a golden retriever or a Labrador or something like that. You wouldn't run into these problems. So the first thing on my list of pros would be that it might just create less access issues if we just had a registration. It would also be very discouraging to fakers. If you had to go through a process to gain registration, people who want to fake service dogs are less likely to jump through those hoops, especially if they require a doctor's note, and that's not something they can get because they don't have a disability. So that would be a huge plus too, would be that it would deter people from just bringing their pets into public places, which of course would create a much safer environment for those of us that do bring our service dogs into public areas. We wouldn't have fake dogs who could potentially be dog aggressive, who would create scenarios where they're just naughty and people start to associate all service dogs as being naughty. It would be a better place for us to have our service dogs, a better environment for us. And also the last thing is, if there's a certain level of training that is required to gain certification, that might actually raise the bar for service dogs, for the behavior of service dogs. You might see less skittery, nervous, overly friendly dogs that pull on leashes. You know, if the dogs had to pass like a canine good citizen or a public access test in order to get certified as a service dog, you might actually see dogs who were better behaved. And I have no doubt that there's dogs out there that are perfect, but I've seen lots of service dogs out there that are not perfect, that I really truly believe are service dogs. Just the owners don't have the ability to train them to that level. And so they, you know, don't behave super great. On my list of cons to service dog registration, and this is a long list because there's a lot of reasons why it just isn't a good idea, I think. The first thing would be requirements. What requirements do we expect? Do you have to have a doctor's note? Now do I have to schedule a whole nother appointment with my doctor in order to get that? No, it's costing me extra money. Not everybody can afford to go to the doctor on a whim to get a service dog application filled out by their doctor. Also, true proof of training, like I mentioned earlier, where your dog would maybe need to pass a CGC or a public access test. Who's going to pay for that? To pay the evaluator to evaluate your dog. You know, can you do it one time only? You have to pass it the first time? Can you do it twice? My daughter had a good idea. She said maybe they should make it free for the first 2 times, and then after that you have to pay a $30 fee if your dog can't pass. I don't know who's going to pay for the free part though, because you know this would be, you'd have to make a whole thing, a whole governmental like branch to deal with this. Another thing that is important to consider would be, where would we get these certifications? Do we drive halfway across our country to the 2 places that might evaluate our dogs for us? Or would there be one in every state? That could still be, you know, a 5-hour drive for most people in bigger states. Maybe if it's just your local CGC evaluator through AKC, that might be a lot easier, because I mean, I know that where I live there's tons of them, so I could find one of them to do a public access test or a CGC test for my dog to pass her and say that she's, you know, safe to be a service dog. But you know, that's another thing to consider, is where do we go to get this done? And these people, these evaluators, they don't want to do it for free. It's their time. They should be paid for it. So we shouldn't expect them to donate their time, but then who is going to pay for it? Another problem would be renewing it. Do you renew every year? Do you take your dog in and pass a public access test every year, or do you have to only do it when you get a new dog? That, you know, could be spendy doing it every year. Another thing would be just the time. It's going to take time. Every business you go into, having to pull out a tag or a card or a badge or a certification and show it. You know, some days I go into 10 different stores, and if I have to take 5 minutes fiddling around trying to find, you know, the card in my wallet, that's wasting my time, and it's valuable to me. My time is valuable to me. I have enough trouble getting up and getting out into public and going to these stores that I don't need somebody confronting me at the door and saying, show me your proof. That would be a huge deterrent for me wanting to go out in public at all. The next thing would be, what if I forgot my ID? What if I forgot my badge? You know, what if it's at home? Is this trip to town wasted? I don't live close to a town, so when I go to town, you know, it's a big deal. I had to gather up stuff. I had to put it all in the car. I had to remember, you know, everything I need to take. You know, and this is, of course, with hauling children around and trying to them to remember their stuff, their backpacks, their things. What if I leave the certification on the table, you know? Or what if it's hooked to her vest and I decide that today we're gonna go for a walk and now I need to put a mobility harness on her. So now it's not on her harness anymore. I can't exactly attach it to her gear, because what if I switch gear, right? Another thought would be, would it be a tag? Would it be a badge? Would it be a card? Or would it be a certificate? Certificates, I mean, they're pieces of paper usually. They get wet, they're ruined. You crumple them up, you know, there's no way they're gonna last a year being pulled in and out of a bag or a pocket, you know, 5 times a day. A tag that's actually on your dog, that's great. You could just, you know, kind of flash the tag. Of course, that's easy for someone to fake. You know, if it's a brass tag, you just make a brass tag and hope nobody wants to look at it that close. If you have a badge that sticks onto your dog's vest, again, what if you change gear? Your dog no longer has that badge on there. And of course, that's easy to reproduce as well. All these things are really easy to reproduce. A card would be nice, but now it's in my wallet, you know, or it's in my pocket, which is going to definitely fall out onto the ground if I just put it in my pocket. It would have to be in my wallet, which that means I'd have to pull out my wallet and pull out the card every time and show it to somebody, you know, when I want to just go into Five and Dime and grab, you know, a jug of milk or something. Another thing I would be concerned about is, you know, of course, losing these things. Like I said, if I had a thing in my pocket, I would for sure lose it. There's no doubt my hands would drop it. I wouldn't feel it. If I had a tag on my dog's vest and I got on a bus and she tucked under the seat, I mean, she hangs up on the bottom of the seats all the time. I could totally see a tag getting ripped off. Another thing would be, I don't like metal tags. I don't like how they jingle. On Mavis, I use the silicone tag for her ID because it doesn't jingle, and when she puts her head down, it doesn't clank on the floor. So that would be another concern, would be just, you know, what would we use? Would it be everybody would have a tag, everybody would have a card, or would they have like different ones? Now you got people trying to like, let me look at it closer, drag your dog over here so I can look at its tag. That would be a pain in the butt. If I forget to bring that stuff to town, you know, bring my service dog registration stuff to town, that doesn't change the fact that I'm still disabled. I still need to take the dog with me where I go. So if I don't have her tag, or she gets lost or ripped off, does that mean I don't get to take her places now? I can't take the bus, I can't go in a store, I can't do these things? Because that doesn't seem fair either. Another concern would be implementing a service dog registration would require a whole infrastructure to regulate, create, and organize that. Who's gonna operate it? Who's gonna run it? And who's gonna pay for it? That's what I wanna know. Is it gonna be tax dollars? Because I don't think most people are gonna wanna pay money to do this. I don't think most people care enough. The last and final thing is that fakers are still gonna find a way. They're still gonna find a way to get around this. There's gonna be companies that find ways to get around it. And so I'm not sure that it's really gonna change anything. So that's my thoughts on service dog registration. Please, in the comments, leave your own ideas of what you think. I'm sure I left some stuff out. I was trying to write it down quick as we were driving, and I know I left some things out. So, you know, if you have any thoughts on it, I would love to hear them. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And I will see you next time. Bye.